worked up.
I always forget that.
Chubby Bunny Kitty!
Yeah, here's the problem. We're all so excited about the name. Some of us are forgetting where this came from. Well, okay, so say more, Max. Like, what do you mean equal values method?
Well, like, both, they both, like, equal
Was that yours?
eventually, I think.
It wasn't stapled, so it's either yours or somebody's. Sorry, go ahead, Max.
I don't know if I'm remembering this right, but I think.
Hey, why are we talking at the same time as people? Sorry. People are being rude. My apologies.
I don't know if I'm remembering this right, but I think, like, both the Chubby Bunny and the Chubby Kitty, both equal the same thing eventually.
So that right there, and a lot of people aren't listening to Nevin, or sorry, Nevin's papers in my hand, aren't listening to Max. Chubby Bunny Kitty method only works when the Chubby Bunny and the Chubby Kitty are gonna be equal to each other. It does not work if the Chubby Kitty is 12 pounds and the Chubby Bunny is 7 pounds. That does not work because they're not equal to each other. There's nothing to solve unless we make them equal to each other. So where I'm worried about some of us like blindly thinking that we're doing Chubby Bunny Kitty but not is in problems like 710. We have to put these equal to each other first. You cannot just say x plus 4y equals x plus 4y. That's not true. Because is 2 equal to 10? No. So before we can solve systems of equations, which like a lot of us just very quickly say, oh, Chubby Bunny Kitty, but it's called a system of equations, we have to get them to equal the same thing. So we've got options here. Excuse me, one option is get them both to have the same variable isolated, which is why in number 9 we practiced isolate the y variable, isolate the x variable, isolate the x variable. Or, anyone want to tell me another option, especially for a situation like A, what we're allowed to do? Patrick?
I just looked at the amount of variables and just saw the 2 and the 10, that's not the same thing.
What do you...
Because the equation part's equal, but the answer's different.
So these are the same, but these are not.
I put like a little equal symbol under the x plus 4y and above the other x plus 4y.
So now, was that because you saw the answer key yesterday, said no solution, or why'd you, like...
Oh no, I already turned it in.
So, I could, because I want to show you guys this option. Ignore what Patrick said, even though it's absolutely correct. Patrick said he figured out there's no solution because these are the same, but these are not. Watch, because I want to give you guys an idea of what does work. If I want to set these equal to each other, I just need to turn this into a 10. How can I do that? Multiply by 5. If I do that over there, I do it over here as well, and I get 5x plus 20y. I'm allowed to do that, and that would equal 10. Right, equal 10. But also, what equals 10 is this x plus 4y down here. So then I'm also going to say, okay, equals x plus 4y. But now that they both equal the same thing, I don't care about that same thing. I just care that they're equal to each other. But, like Patrick said, okay, so what? I subtract y from both sides, or sorry, I subtract an x from both sides and get 4x, I don't know, maybe I subtract a 4y from both sides and I have 16y equals 0. I could, like, what? I just don't know what to do. Yeah, because at the same time, this equals something, like, well, this equaled 10, but, like, so I could say 4x equals negative 16y. Is there a way to solve this for just a single number? No, I'm stuck with 2 variables. So, there's really no way to solve this. There's no solution. And actually what has happened here is these two lines are parallel, right? The lines are going together. They're never going to touch. They're always going to be parallel with each other, never having that solution point. But over here, this actually will work. So stick with me for a second. You don't always have to get it to y equals or x equals. Guys, even if you already did this homework, look up here, please. I can make these two equations equal if I double my bottom equation, right? Because negative 10, what can I do to negative 5? I can double it. So if I double this equation, 2x plus 4y equals negative 10. But you know what else equals negative 10?
2x plus 4y.
But when the left side and the right side absolutely equal each other, what does that mean our answer is? Anything.
Any real number.
So there are infinitely many solutions. It is, well, not quite. We can use any x we want, but then the y will be a specific number. So once we pick an x, we can get a y. So if I get this to the point of x equals, I can say x equals any real number. Like, we're allowed to say x can equal any real number. But be careful, since we're trying to find the point, like we're looking for x comma y, there are not infinitely, when x is a number, y is a specific number. So this is where we're starting to get tricky with things. X can be anything it wants, but then y is determined by x. I can come back up here. Now this is when having the y equals form is better. So if I subtract 2x from both sides, and then if I divide by 4, I get, actually it'd be a positive half x. I'm going to flip some things around. No, it'd still be negative, because it's just a positive 4. So, negative 1/2 x, yeah, minus 2.5. So now once I know what x is, then I can figure out what y is. X is allowed to be anything, but y would be figured out by x. But you can say x is any real number. Yes.
Okay. Instead of multiplying it, is it okay if I add it? So instead of multiplying the bottom one, I just added 5 to the top one.
I mean, then you're going to add 5 on this side?
No, because then...
Well, hold on. You said you added 5 on this side? Because you're not allowed to just do something on one side. Yeah, so that's why I said at first.
I added 5 on the one side so then it would equal the bottom.
Let's play with that for a second. So you can't just add 5 on one side. So I do think that you broke a math rule by saying you did it just on one side. But if I add 5 over here, I add 5 over here. So what we would be saying is 2x plus 4y plus 5 equals x plus 2y. And we could, hypothetically solve it from there. Because, so Maddie added 5, but I'm telling her she has to do it on both sides.
Negative 5?
No, because from negative 10 to get up to negative 5, we're going up. We're going up the number line, right? So we add a positive 5. This is tricky because now my work that I have written in pen does not reflect what we're actually doing. But if I subtract x from both sides, I get x plus 4y plus 5. I should really be showing my work, so I'm sorry that I'm not. And then I minus 2y. See, what's tricky here is we still have 2 variables. This doesn't really help us. This is still going to end us up with a different equation that looks like these.
I mean, would you get the same answer?
No.
Okay.
So that if I force this to go where I want it to go, it's going to be x plus 2y plus 5 equals 0. Or I could say 2y equals negative x minus 5. If I subtract both of those to get them over, y equals negative 1/2 x minus 2.5, which is what we just got up here. Y equals negative half minus 2.5. So we just made another equation in the system. It still doesn't really help us, right? So the best thing is isolate one of the variables for each of them, which is what we're going to practice when we look at 19. So, okay, I'll show you some of the other answers first, I guess. So last night's homework, we're going to look at 19 together. Because, guys, if you don't have any work on 19, I'm going to be afraid that you won't be able to do this on the mini mastery that we'll probably be taking, I don't know, probably Friday. This graph was different than what we did in class. We did not talk about horsepower in class.
No, we did.
No. Dude, you were even here for math lunch. Oh, maybe we talked about this in AO. In class, we talked about mileage and price. We did not talk about horsepower. So this graph is totally different than the one that we did in class. Questions on 17 or 18? Max.
This is 17. Wait, what?
We're now looking at 712, last night's
I know.
homework.
I'm on 712.
Okay.
So, I thought it was you would just say which one of these goes with which graph.
That is what we're doing. So
Why
the
is
order
no relation?
the order of this doesn't matter. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to my paper. If I can find it. Look at the scatter plots. Use your experience to decide which statement fits each scatter plot. If there is a relationship, describe it in a sentence. So we can see this, positive-ish. This, negative-ish. This, malarkey. This, 0, right? Like it stays consistent. So, a city's average daytime temperature in January and its latitude. So, as latitude changes, ooh, look, we gave you the reminder. Recall that the equator is at a 0 latitude. Everything else goes up from there. So, do you think the temperature is higher or lower at the equator during January? Higher. That's why Mexico was so nice when I was there a month ago. So as you go further away from the equator, your temperature would get colder. So distance from the equator, let's double check if their key is even right. That's math 7. So yeah, it's II. Distance from the equator, as our distance from the equator goes up, our temperature goes down.
This sounds like social stuff.
I mean, there's math in social studies. I don't know that there's social studies in math, but there's math in social studies. Amelia?
Math is said about Mexico, how the weather was nice. So, if you were to hypothetically be going during spring break, what would the weather be nice?
I think it's just always warmer near the equator, isn't it? I mean, if you go to the other side of the world, their seasons are kind of like flip-flop compared to us, but like the equator is always warmer than because you got to take the tilt of the Earth into account, but the equator always gets more sunlight than like the poles do, right? Because it's more direct sunlight.
Wait, I think
Max?
your seasons depend on the
Hemisphere?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk too fast and get back to the math. Because who wants to do social studies?
Me. No, I'm joking.
Weight of a car and its speed in a traffic jam on a freeway. Guys, traffic jam. Do you think the weight of the car matters to how fast it's going? No.
It's malarkey.
Do you think how many pets you have at home determines the grades that you have?
No.
I mean, if you want to try to make the middle school argument, you could say my pets help my mental health and my but no,
I wrote
like
down
Yeah, if you're done,
because I wrote down is why.
So,
because morale is
you're
always-
doing the middle school thing. Brenda, your hand is up.
What does A through B have to do with anything with those graphs?
What does
Oh
what
my
and
God,
what?
you said that.
What does what?
Why
one of these statements matches the scatter plot.
Like which one?
Got it.
So like A would go here because we said as we go away from the equator. Sorry, do you want to talk about this or no? Because we can move on. But you asked the question and then you stopped paying attention. Do we need to talk about this or no? Okay. So, I know Amelia, seems like she could be a teacher, but kind of let me be the teacher for a moment. This is distance from the equator. Because the equator is our 0 longitude. Or latitude? Latitude.
Latitude equals latitude.
Excuse me, can you please send Amelia headset for dismissal? Amelia
Ha!
is in the office for
See?
dismissal.
You're trying to teach my class for me, and now they're going to take you out of it.
I don't know why I'm leaving.
I totally saw that coming.
So then,
Yeah,
and I want to make sure that I'm going to agree with their answer key. I believe I agree with it. They said this one goes to 4.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So look at this.
Yeah.
B goes to number 4 because weight would be the x-axis. Speed would be the y-axis. Guys, everybody in a traffic jam should be going relatively the same speed. So this is probably between 20 and 30 miles an hour, which feels really slow when you're on the highway. Right? On the highway.
Oh my god.
Because everyone's going essentially the same speed. Guys, in a normal day on the highway, some people are going 40 to 50 and other people are going 80. Because some people are getting on the highway or getting off the highway and some people are cruising, right? They're way over in the left lane. So, but this is in a traffic jam. Everyone's driving pretty much the same speed. Number of pets a student has and his or her grades. Well, unless we're going to say that more pets means better grades, I'm going to guess that the graph that goes with pets and grades is all random. And this is all random, right? It's not even close together because this would be saying everyone's grades are close to each other's. That's not true. Everyone's grades are pretty spread. I mean, I don't know. Again, we're thinking about traditional grades.
I mean, here it would just be like
It's funny
everyone
though.
they got
And then the only one that I would really take a okay, you argued your way out of this is cost of a person's home and value of his or her car.
yeah.
You could argue if you spent a lot on your house, you don't have any money left for your car, but here's the reality. People who are spending a lot on both of these things are probably just in debt, up to their eyeballs, which is okay. Some people, you can be in a lot of debt and be managing it just fine. You can be in a lot of debt and not be managing it very well. So, my house and my car would probably be somewhere around here-ish. I didn't buy a very expensive house and I don't have a very expensive car. But my wife's car is our nice car and it's more expensive, right? So she would be one of the higher up points that might not match the graph. So you could maybe make an argument for this, but she doesn't drive a Beamer or a Mercedes or anything. She drives a 4Runner. It's just a big SUV, so it's expensive because it's a big SUV, but it's not expensive. Max?
Highest question. So you don't have that your house and your car is mediocre. Do they work and are they enjoyable to be in?
Yeah, my home was built in 1980, but it has a roof over my head and keeps me warm and or keeps me cold and lets me shower.
Does it have a fireplace?
Yeah, but right now I need to get the chimney cleaned, so I'm not burning fires because I want to get the chimney cleaned.
Okay, and then 722, I have a quick question.
22.
I can't remember what it is.
Hey, hold. You're skipping over 19 though. So here's my advice for 19. Here's my advice for 19, and like I like to do, I'm gonna go backwards. In C, the second equation already has y isolated. It just distracts me, man. If I isolate y here, then I can set them equal to each other, and the y is gone. That's the better way to do these, because we want one of the variables to disappear. So, I'm going to switch around the 1 and the 2y first. I would add 2y to both sides and subtract 1 from both sides. So then I can just divide by 2 and say y is equal to 2.5x minus 1/2 And now we can say 2x plus 1, this bottom equation, that equals y. And also from the top equation, 2.5x minus 1/2 equals y. Now they're equal to each other, and x is the only variable I have. In B, they start by giving you x. So down here, you might as well try to get your x by itself. So if I subtract 3y from both sides, and then divide by 2, I can get x by itself. And then get rid of it. Because once I have x equal to x, I set them equal to each other and the x's are gone.
I'm so confused.
Okay, I was about to say be honest. Who doesn't get what I'm saying? This. X equals y plus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and write down x equals y plus 4, but eventually I'm going to not care about this x. The bottom equation I'm going to take over here, and I'm going to show my work. 2x plus 3y equals negative 12. I want to get x by itself because I already have an x by itself. Grant, you with me? So then, and if you already know how to do this, that's okay, but I fear that a lot of us are like a little rocky on this because we haven't practiced this a lot. Get rid of the 3y from the left side. Subtract 3y. So then 2x is equal to negative 12 minus 3y. Divide everything by 2. Yeah, we have to get the chubby bunny equal to the chubby kitty first.
Then you replace the bunny with the, or whatever x and y, and you replace x with y.
So this is going to equal just x. I'm kind of out of space over here. This, since it's also equal to x, I can put equal to my other equation. So this becomes negative 6, right? Negative 12 divided by 2. Negative 3y divided by 2 is negative 3 halves y. Now, I can ignore the x and solve. And that's going to solve for the y.
I still don't understand it.
What don't you understand?
Like, can I get a drink of water while you guys?
Sure.
Okay. Everything about it.
Nope. Try again.
How to get like to the columns?
What do you mean to the columns?
Like to the 1, 2, 3. Like, how do you get to the actual answer?
You solve this. I'm trying to avoid giving you the answer.
Oh, okay.
So, like, now that I have x equals this and x equals this, they're equal to each other, and I don't care about this anymore. I just care about y plus 4 equals negative 6 minus 3 halves y. I can add 3 halves y to both sides, and that's going to give me 2.5 y. I can subtract 4 from both sides, and that's going to give me negative 10. From there, I can solve for y. And my gut tells me I think it's going to be negative 4. Because what times 2.5 makes negative 10? The y value here will be negative 4. So yeah, 1 goes with part B. Connor?
Is it okay? I did A and C, and then after I figured out those.
Elimination?
That's what you was-
Yeah, you're fine.
You still want to do the math?
Nah, you're as long as you like are comfortable doing this. If I gave it to you like on a mini mastery, like what could happen on Friday.
No.
Yes.
I'm getting
I don't know
some
what the opposite of boo
mixed-
is.
I'm getting
but-
some mixed reviews.
Yay! Wait,
Oh yeah, woo would be the opposite of boo. All right, other questions. Other questions. Yo, other questions. 20A comes out to be 170. 20B is 54. 21. You cannot divide by 0 ever.
I knew it.
However, if you start with 0 and divide, you just get 0. If I have 0 pizzas and I divide them by anybody, I still have 0 pizzas.
Story.
I know, it's a very sad story.
I am very confused on this question. What's that? I thought that was
Sure.
mark all the ones that could be A equals 2, 2 over 3.
So apparently you decided you weren't going to read. Evaluate, like find
I
the
thought
value.
that said mark. like circle it.
Evaluate each expression below for when A equals 2/3 if possible.
Is possible. I saw is and I saw like right.
So, do we need to read your homework out loud together every day in math lunch? Is this what you're telling me?
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Moving on, any questions on 22? Circle, graph. Colin.
What is a histogram?
What's a histogram? Man, if only there was a place I could go to and like ask, what's a histogram? Oh, it's a bar graph, except it's split up into bins. Because if I just search histogram, and I look at the Google definition, a histogram is a graphical representation that organizes a group of data points into user-specified ranges that we often call bins. This is not technically a histogram. This is where Google is dangerous. In a histogram, your bins should be next to each other. So here's the issue here, is that these numbers go right next to each other. 0 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to, like, these should be right next to each other. No gap in between. If there's a gap in between, it's really just a bar graph. But a histogram should be connected together with the ranges. We're showing frequency within the ranges. We're showing frequency within the ranges. So what that question is asking you is, with this data and this graph, could you turn this into a histogram?
No.
You could turn it into a bar graph.
Every histogram we look at here is going to have an x-axis with ranges of numbers. So what you need to think about in that circle graph is, would that data turn into ranges of numbers or not? If the data is just categorical, not numerical, categorical, like if you ask somebody, what's your favorite pet? And your answers are like dogs, cats, fish, whatever. That's categorical. If you ask people, how many pets do you have? That's numerical. Histograms are used for numerical data, not categorical. A bar graph is what we use for categorical data. Wow, class is almost gone. That's okay.
We spent the entire time on homework. Aren't we like a lesson ahead?
Kind of. All right, with your team right now, real fast, you have 10 minutes to, and actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This might work. We are, by groups, we're going to say team 2, team 3, team 4, because my screen isn't big enough to also show 5. Make a scatter plot of the data you've been given, and then discuss Team 2, Team 3, Team 4. Team 1 is on the slide before. Like, come on, you're wasting time right now. So, decide how to scale your axes. I doubt you just did the exact same thing.
We did the exact same one as Team 2.
What, in homework? Are you sure?
Instead of, I remember it.
Yeah, but
And it gave us the class and we did it.
I did that earlier. See?
Yeah, you're right. That's funny.
So you want to do it again?
No. Yo! Team 2 is in your homework, so you guys should do Team 3 also. We'll do Team 3. Actually, no. You guys can do Team 5. You want a fun one? Like, more fun? Team 2's in your homework.
Oh.
There you go, Team 5.
No. How? You should just shut up. You could have easy one.
Team 5.
We don't have to eat.
5, 3, 4. Sorry, I moved the screen, so double check what you're looking at.
our height is what? Our height.
Out of the way.
Team 3 is the middle of the room. Team 4 is that side of the room. Team 5 is over on this side of the room because we just had to switch things around a little bit.
Why is our bike puny? They got good 3s and 4s. I'm on their 5s. Yeah.
Yeah, we only need to go up 30
Now graph it.
for the Y.
Why would I have had you get identical graph paper if you're all gonna... I mean, do you mean all do it separately? I was about to say, I would decide on a common scale. I would decide on everything the same as your partners, so that your graphs end up looking the same.
Okay, how far did you
We have like 8 minutes.
Oh, that's actually a better idea.
That would mean that we figure out where we're positioning our graph.
What's the x-axis? What's the x-axis? What's the x-axis? How do you know?
I mean, I guess not. Yeah, since your x-axis only goes 1 through 6, you could make it bigger just to make like easier to look at. 14.4.
We don't talk about food.
No.
No, my fault. No, it's not my
Just have
fault.
any points above 3 or 6. How you show your y-axis? Hey friends, we got to refocus for a second. Some of you are forgetting why we're graphing data. You're not doing this because I asked you to do it. I mean, yes, kind of. But the reason we're graphing this is to see, does one thing impact the other thing? Which mathematically, hey, pencils down for a second. Because we can start class with this tomorrow anyways. What we're asking is, does the number of seeds impact the height? So we would have seeds as our x-axis, as our input, and the height would be the y-axis as the output value. Same thing with size of pot. We'd have the size of the pot as the x-axis, the height of the plant as the y-axis to say, does this get impacted by this? Same thing with hours of sunlight. Hours of sunlight would be your input, or your x, with height of the plant being output, or y. Almost always, unless CPM is being a jerk, almost always it's xy, xy, xy. almost always X on top, Y on bottom. Unless whoever worked for CPM and made the graph or made the table kind of goofed up. Really, we almost always try to put X on the left or on top, and Y on the right or on the bottom. So try these. You got like 5 more minutes. You got plenty of time.
Oh, wait.
You got time.
I put it away accidentally.
Accidentally, he says.
No, I put it away on purpose, but I thought it was like time to go.
Yeah, because like somebody told you it was time to go.
No, because you started talking to us that we'll probably do it tomorrow. But it's fine.
Your axes should have a label with a word and labels with numbers.
No. Oh my god, I didn't even make it. I made it.
Your axes should have labels with words telling us what's what and numbers. Does that make a bit more sense now? That now we can see is the height positively associating, negatively associating, or no association with the diameter of the top. Or wait, huh? Yeah, you guys are diameter, right?
It just looks
So when that diameter is going up, point height goes down, then up and down. Yeah.
Max needs a pattern. Max needs a pattern.
Hey guys, we have a coat rack out in the family room in case your morning classes forgot to tell you. You don't need to lug your coat around all day. I brought in a coat rack from my house, so you got a place to hang your coat.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you so
you're
much.
welcome.
I'm like,
I don't know, I guess the only justification would be, well, what if we have to go outside real fast? But the family room's right there. Like, if there was some sort of emergency, I'd probably let you grab your coat.
Also, you can probably go outside now for 5 minutes.
Yeah, like, and if we thought it was going to be a bigger, like, I would wheel the coat rack out. Like, literally, like, I'll take care of you guys. I'll fight off the fire to get your coats.
I will extinguish you.
Well, it wouldn't be too hot, too cold. Get maybe not get lit on fire.
That would make my life so much easier.
Has Mrs. Howard talked to you guys about science fair yet?
no. What is a science fair?
This is the sort of stuff you do in science fair to prove if, like, what you did mattered. Oh, I don't really care.
Oh, wait, I need a data. The data was important.
Me? Yeah, really quickly before class.
It's impressive.
Hold on a second. I don't know if we have time to watch this, but if so, what's up while I'm Googling this?
Can we look at that thing?
Oh, yeah, so you can actually see your numbers? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? I'm not a show break. That's because I made a few mistakes along the road.
Alright, if someone reminds me tomorrow, because my YouTube won't load, there's a rather funny Systems of Equations from a movie that I like, but I can't get to it right now. So, huh? It'll ruin it if I say, if you know it, then you know it, and then you'll ruin it, so I'm not going to tell you.
How does
All right, get out of here, guys.
Real quick before I leave, since they're not the board yet, it says fix 9, but
Says what?
it says fix 9,
Yeah.
but put check next to my 9.
Oh, it's because the answer you had was 9. And that answer's right, but it's not worms. Sorry, I meant to write fix 10, but 9 was stuck in my head because the number 9, it is not worms. You said yes, worms? No, not worms. It is not
So do I
worms.
just write 9?
I don't know. Re-figure out the problem, and I bet there's not just one answer. I bet there are 2 answers you need to give me.
See ya.
Can I turn all of these in?
Yeah, if they're all done, sure.